Evan, thank you very much. It's excellent to be here tonight with you and Danny and Ewan to discuss what I think is a hugely important issue, and an issue which goes to the heart of what we believe as liberals. It was Adam Smith who taught us about, well, first among many others, about the law of supply and demand, and how if there was demand there was going to be supply, and taught us basically you cannot buck the market. Well, prohibition does not work. It did not work when they tried to prohibit alcohol in the United States in the 1920s. It doesn't work with any drug in Western Europe today. And yet prohibition is our policy. And it's a policy with effects that I think are both perverse and ridiculously expensive. It's a policy which allows criminal gangs to make huge profits from the supply of illicit substances. It's a policy which creates narco-states such as North Korea and Myanmar, and which pushes other states like Afghanistan and Colombia into ungovernability. And it is a policy which confines a massive business to the lawlessness of the criminal underworld, having huge effects on society because at the same time driving up rates of burglary and theft among drug users to fund what is an expensive habit. Moreover, it puts on the market drugs containing impurities, sometimes life-threatening impurities. It helps in the spread of AIDS and other contagious diseases through things like needle sharing, and it fills our prisons with people who need care rather than incarceration. Now, I have not always believed that prohibition is wrong. Indeed, I changed my view when 10 years ago I was given the job of chairing the European Parliament's Committee on Justice and Home Affairs, and where over 2.5 years, among the things with which I had to deal was drug policy across the European Union. I must say that when I started to change my view, I was encouraged by the discussions I had in my own constituency with police and social workers and customs officers, many of whom believe that the policy that the government is pursuing is not only useless, but sometimes even counterproductive. And I have become convinced that the approach adopted by the whole of the Western world, not just by us, is actually the cause of many of the problems we face rather than the solution. The trade in illicit drugs is one of the most lucrative in the world. The market is estimated to be worth some £5.3 billion every year. In the UK alone, is believed to involve 300 major drug importers, 30,000 wholesalers, and 70,000 street dealers. The police in Bristol tell me that they believe 80% of all crime in the city is related to drug use or drug abuse. And yet, the policy which we have is a policy that is shared right across the developed world. And when you try to change a policy like that, it's like turn around a supertanker in the ocean. It takes you a long, long time to stop the damn thing before you can even think about turning it around. The policy is focused, of course, on reducing supply, although it also looks at how you can reduce harm, such as things like needle sharing schemes, and it looks at how you can reduce demand. But the government's own Drugs Policy Commission has come out with a report which says, and I quote, "Law enforcement efforts have had little adverse effect on the availability of illicit drugs in the UK." You know, over the last decade, the seizures of Class A drugs in this country have almost doubled, but the street price of Class A drugs has continued to fall.